right, we love classic Trump, and we got some of it today. He's like, okay, you're going to connect me to Epstein? We'll just release everything on you. And the listeners and viewers are like, wait, he said there wasn't a list. There isn't in a client list. They're playing games with names. He made a deal. The CIA asked him not to release it. I told you that 22 days ago. I said I could understand the thinking. I didn't agree with it. I said they're going to double cross you. And then I told his administration, and I told him, and Roger told him, and they called Roger up last week. He's been there for 7 days with the president. And you got Trump to come out today and say, okay, guys, you want it, you got it. And Trump has to be briefed on all this because he doesn't know all the intrigue and the backstories. So we're talking hours and hours of meetings of him learning about all this. Yeah. You are into the New World Order conspiracy, so you know all about it. Trump knows about trade and business, and he said my first, when I was in 8 years ago, I didn't understand all this. Well, he still doesn't understand it all. That's why I keep telling the Q people, they're always like, he's 80 trillion chess and he knows everything. Do you know how many times I've told Trump something he doesn't know and he acts on it once he finds out it's true? You've seen the press conferences the last 6 months where they're like, hey, Hunter Biden's got all the Secret Service and they're down there in South Africa. He goes, really? He goes and sees it's true and removes them. He is super smart. He has a lot of energy, but he's 79. So when I see the Q people saying he's invincible, don't ask questions, or the total Trump supporters saying he knows what he's doing, I trust him, the establishment doesn't want us engaging Trump. The establishment doesn't want us putting our 2 cents in. Remember all the headlines, 2017, 18, 19. The White House chief of staff's job is keeping Trump away from Alex Jones. Because I would tell him something, he'd say, send that to me. He'd say, I'm going to have this aide call you, give it to us, and I would give it to them. And I mean, 30, 40 times he would act on it. Now, back then, there weren't many staff that would do that. They got rid of Flynn. They got rid of Bannon. They went after Roger. And then I was just somebody. It wasn't that I was that special. Yeah, there's the SPLC. Chief of Staff John Kelly's main job, keeping Trump away from me. And it wasn't that I was that smart. They all knew it too. Most of the people in the White House weren't even operatives. They just knew they were going to get targeted if they told Trump, hey, there's all these Soros people in here like Fiona Hill. But Roger, like 2017 or whatever, he's like, I've been telling Trump about Fiona Hill. You got to help me next time he calls you. You got to tell him she's a Soros operative and this general is. And I'm like, yeah, I know that's true. I'll tell him. So I get the Trump call a couple weeks later. I'm like, sir, Fiona Hill is on the board of Soros' thing. I heard that from Roger. Yeah, well, you need to do something. And here's the people. And then they fire her, and they have congressional hearings, and this is one example. And 60 Minutes programs, whining, and she's like, I don't even know what globalism is. Yeah, you're just the editor of theglobalist.com. And it wasn't that I did something so spectacular. I just told him the truth. So I'm a quantified person. I don't even want to sit here and be on the main radar, even though they know I'm there, because I want to continue my work. That's why I've invited the White House, invited to Mar-a-Lago recently, and I just said, yeah, you guys are a distraction. No, thank you. Joe Rogan went and had his dinner. Because for whatever the imagery is, me with Trump drives the left into a new level of attacking. I'd rather just be able to influence Trump and sit here in Austin, Texas. But then I don't want to have to sit here and tell the listeners, hey, Roger just met with Trump for 7 days and is his main advisor and finally got him to go on the offense to release stuff. And Roger's like, please don't give me credit. Well, the point is that it's about the story of how Trump is influenceable with the information. And there's all these people that have no connection to Trump other than voting for him who think it's like this magical thing And then if his oldest supporters are concerned about something and say, don't cover Epstein, release it, this is a trap, and then I'm proven right, do you understand to those people, this is a real program. This isn't a 4chan Q drop. These are real people. Roger came to the White House to get Trump to change course. We got it done. And I told you in the last week, Trump's about to come out and say release everything because he was already starting to go there. We got it today. Now, could he be pushed back? I don't know. But he's really concerned about the economy and what this coming out will do with all these Democrat leaders and corporate leaders involved screwing kids. But you heard him earlier this week. In fact, you guys queued it back up. Let's play it again. Let's play him saying, I'm going after Hillary. I'm going after Obama. I didn't do it before. Now I am. I told you days before that was about to happen because I'm in on the strategy. See, this is real people like Trump and Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson and Roger Stone. These aren't 4chan drops. This is real. And no, I will not trust the plan because I am the plan. Ron Paul's the plan. You're the plan. We as his constituents built this platform. So we got people on one side saying, don't ever question Trump. And you've got the left misrepresenting us when we say, Trump, you better stop it. You know how much Trump respects me screaming at him? And saying, if you're going to cover this up for national security, you know they're going to double cross you and come back and say you're involved. You know this is a trap. If you're going to cover it up, shut up. Do you think I just said that on air, or do you think I've told White House advisors that? And Trump knows I'm right more than anybody. So I didn't do all that so CNN would take clips out of me, out of context and say, I hate Trump. I don't care about being on CNN. I care about winning and defeating the globalists. So the crew just remember.
All right. Welcome to the show. Well, shit. Welcome to the show. Friday, July 25, 2025. And got a hell of a show tonight. This broadcast is going to shake some people up. We've talked about this quite a bit in the last few weeks about Trump and going the wrong direction with the Epstein files and the names and all that stuff with the pedophilia, Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell stuff. And you heard it first here through Alex Jones, where Roger Stone has been at the White House for a week, clearing the president of these United States about the truth about the globalists and about, the deep state and about all these things that he don't really know about. He's into, economy and all these different, making deals and all this stuff. And, I guess the best way to put it is it got by him. He didn't realize what he was doing. He's dropped 14 points in the polls with his constituents because of this. And he came out today. We're going to play the clip here in a minute. And he came out today and he said that, well, yesterday he said he's going to release the files, whatever that means. Going to release the names, going to release the information. And he said that he was just going to release it. And then he came out and he said that, he should have, he didn't arrest Hillary. He thought that it was a bad idea to do that in the 2016 when he got in office in 2017, because Hillary was an ex-president's wife and all that stuff. And now he's like, we're going after them all, and, we're going to get into that too. We got the DNI stuff with Tulsi Gabbard, DNI Gabbard, and all that thing going on with, the Crossfire Hurricane and the Russia hoax and all that stuff. We're going to get into that here shortly, but I just wanted to, say that I'm going to report, I'm going to tell you what my truth is, what I believe, the information that I get. I'm not going to candy coat it. I'm not going to tell you that everything's great when it's not. I'm going to just give it to you straight. And, hey, if you stick around for what we have, great. If not, maybe there's somebody out there that will tell you some bullshit to, pacify you until the next person that lies to you about the truth. And the truth is, with the rate we were going, we're going to lose, 40, 50 seats in midterms because people will not vote for this. If you say you're going to do something, President Trump, you need to do it. And so I've been all over the internet for a while looking around to see what people are saying. And there's a few people, warmongers and rhinos and whatever saying, oh, we need to let this go. We need to walk away. We need to look at something else. But the majority of the patriots, the MAGA base, the Trump people are all saying the same thing, that they feel disrespected by what has happened with Donald Trump and the Epstein files, all that whole thing. So, we know now that the reason why Bongino was going to quit, or, while that whole thing went down, was because Pam Bondi had put out that memo, and Kash Patel nor Bongino even knew anything about it, and saying that they're gonna, nothing to see here, walk away, and so now we're starting, as and this is why I always say that I'm going to wait 48 hours before I report on something, because I'm going to wait for all the chips to fall, find out what the truth is before I report on something that I don't, because I've made mistakes and I don't like doing that. I don't like telling you something that I think, that I see, that isn't true. And I ask for discernment from God all the time to reveal to me the truth about all these different scenarios and situations and stuff that's going on. And I want this place to be, when you come to my channel, I want it to be like, I know if I come to John Webb, I'm going to get the truth. I'm not going to get some lies or some fabrication or make me feel good. I'm going to tell you the truth, whatever it is. Okay. With that said, a couple of things we're going to cover tonight is Todd Blanche went and had a meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell, 2 days at her, some of you may have seen this already, but and the media has been talking about, are you going to pardon her and all this stuff? And Trump said, I haven't even thought about that. That's not on my radar. Whatever Todd Blanche does, he knows what he's doing. He's a professional. He'll take care of it, and he'll report back to me what he finds out. And I guess he was there with Maxwell for 2 days interviewing her. So we'll see what happens, what comes out of that. And it sounds like with Maxwell's lawyer, which I could take that with a grain of salt, said that she was truthful and no hesitation and really did a good job. So we'll see how that plays out. Just, a little bit of heads up on that is a thing that happened in the last few days. We have all this DNI stuff. We have, we're going to get into some, I think it's important that you remember that the globalists are, not giving up. They're pushing the CBDCs, and they're, they're really trying to get rid of the dollar altogether and go to a, digital currency so they can control everything that you do, eat, say, etc. And we're going to cover that, and then we're going to get into a couple other things. I think this thing with Epstein has been so blown up, and rightfully so. It needed to be, because what happens in politics and is like this: if you don't say nothing, it just moves on to the next topic. But if you don't let it go and you keep pushing, then the politicians or Trump or whoever, the administration or the spokespeople and all that stuff, they don't have a choice but to look at it when every reel they see is about us complaining about some bad policy that they have created, whether it was intentional or not. That's kind of how that goes. So that's why all that you've heard about for days and days and days, I think 21 days now, is about Trump is sinking us by doing this with the Epstein files. So just to clear it up for those of you, because I had a ton of calls last couple of weeks. Oh, you're against Trump and all that stuff. And you know what? All of us that are talking about the truth about what Trump did with this whole thing are all getting the same calls. So I'm not unique. I just want to clear it up for you so you understand. I'm going to give it to you, with no mix, just straight up. Okay. All right. So where we at? I want to, before we get into, we're going to get deep into the DNI, Comey, Russia hoax and all that stuff in a minute. But before we do, I want to cover a couple things. One, for you people that are here in California or you're in a blue state, you need to see this report by John Bound about what Gavin Newsom has done to California with the Palisade fire, the Malibu fire over there in Southern California, and how they are literally not giving them permits. But 6 months ago, when Trump went there, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, whenever it was, when Trump went there, they told Trump, the governor told Trump that permits are going to be easy to get, and these people are not able to get permits for their land so they can rebuild, and they're forcing them to sell their properties because they can't live on burnt land. So we're going to play that real quick. Think this is very important. And if you remember back, you go back to Lahaina, same thing happened. These really beautiful oceanfront properties in Hawaii. There was the fire happened, whatever the conspiracy is or isn't. A lot of people lost homes, a lot of kids came up missing and all that stuff. And this is similar to that because they were told that within a couple months they would be able to, rebuild, and their houses are not being rebuilt. Beautiful homes, by the way. A lot of people, a lot of well-known people have lost their properties, lost their homes to the fires over there. So let's get into this real quick, and we'll be right back. Stand by.
The Pacific Palisades fire, which, if the insane news cycle buried it from your memory, began on January 7th, 2025, and caused massive destruction across the Pacific Palisades, Topanga, and Malibu, with nearly every structure north of Sunset Boulevard in Pacific Palisades being obliterated, causing severe air pollution in Los Angeles. The crisis was compounded by water supply issues, as 20% of fire hydrants in the more elevated parts of Pacific Palisades ran dry. The containment efforts reached only 8% by January 31st of 2025, after 24 days of battling an inferno that 7 months later is still being investigated as arson. In the aftermath, Governor Gavin Newsom signed Senate Bill 549 into law. This legislation grants Los Angeles County the authority to purchase fire-destroyed lots at minimal cost, a decision that directly contradicts Newsom's previous statements to homeowners that government-driven property conversions would not occur.
I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
The bill mandates that from January 2026, 40% of the housing in affected areas must be affordable. And it establishes a, quote, resilient rebuilding authority, end quote, that overrides local community decisions on rebuilding efforts. This strips away local control, likely displacing original homeowners who don't fall under the criteria of Section 8 recipients, and enables rezoning without their input.
The people that are in charge of this bill, they're the people in charge of letting the whole town burn down, okay? You can say whatever you want, but all their decisions, all their negligence, all that, that's why we have no town in the Palisades. Why would we ever have them in charge of rebuilding what they let burn down?
With SB 549, the authority can buy back land and offer it first to original owners. But if they cannot afford it, they lose their homes permanently, setting the table for Smart LA 2028, led by the City of Los Angeles' Information Technology Agency, a government technocracy that is building the 2028 Olympics on the charred remains of its citizens' homes.
Technology enables the City of LA to efficiently and ethically improve the quality of life for our residents, businesses, and visitors. In other words, when done right, technology makes us smarter. That's why the City of Los Angeles strives to be a smart city. And there's never been a more important time for Los Angeles to be smart than now, as we prepare to host the world in the 2028 Summer Olympics and Paralympics.
Meanwhile, the LA Rises public outreach campaign, launched by the survivors to support recovery efforts, is undermined by Newsom's policy shifts, which prioritize government control over the restoration of homeowner rights and local autonomy.
What they're proposing is a separate government entity to be comprised of political appointees, not people elected by you, who would have centralized authority over construction, permitting, development, land acquisition, and other key decisions that will shape the future of the Palisades.
In this brave new world, the people of Pacific Palisades are not rebuilding their lives. They are being rebuilt by a government that ignored their cries for help and sees opportunity in their suffering, an opportunity with motive.
It's like California's being run by a criminal operation, and the goal is the biggest land grab in the history of the United States of America.
But the question isn't whether this was planned, it's whether the people of California will stand idly by as their homes, their rights, and their futures are consumed by the same fire that started it all. Their time to take a stand is today, and it isn't tomorrow. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
So you see what's going on, right? 15-minute cities, and they've gotten some. We did a report about a year ago about Tucson, Arizona has these 15-minute cities where there's no vehicle, no gas-powered vehicles whatsoever. The first 2,000 people or 200, I think maybe it was the first 200 people got a free scooter, and they're completely green and all this stuff, and they're like 250 square feet coffin apartments that you live in, and they're propping up everywhere. And so that's their plan to do these green, they call them green smart cities, right? They're all ran off of solar and electric and all that stuff. But the bigger part of this is, I don't know if you caught that part where he talked about the Olympics. Funny that the Olympics is going to be held in Los Angeles, near where this is at. And now they're talking about, some kind of a, stadium or whatever. They're going to, buy the land and put some stadium or something in there. And this is all in planning right now, but you can't get your house rebuilt because permits are impossible to get. They have all these regulations for you to get, your apartment or your house or whatever it is, rebuilt, because the permits, but at the same time, not now, son, not now. At the same time, they're talking about building these smart cities. So it's the same thing that happened with, we got busted in on my kid. Same thing that happened in Lahaina and many other places all over the United States. And this is what they're doing. And they burn you out, and then they take your land because you can't afford to live in it. You can't afford to maintain it, and they fine you for not cleaning it up. And then when you clean it up, if you don't do it right, then they fine you for it. And if you don't have a fence around it, and there's no fences, and all the fences are gone because everybody's got fences around their property because it has to be safe and all this stuff. And then they just keep fining you until you don't have a choice but to either spend every penny that you got maintaining this burnt down property, or burnt down property, while they're planning on giving it, buying it from you for 10 cents on the dollar. So that's our wonderful government. Gavin Newsom, by the way, running for president. Any minute you're going to start hearing about it. He's doing his media tour. As you know, he was on Sean Ryan acting like he was a populist a couple weeks ago. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out there so everybody realizes what really is going on with stuff like this. This is probably one of the most egregious things that's not getting any airtime. Nobody's talking about it because there's so many other things going on that this just gets like shoved under the carpet because it's not Epstein files, or it's not a Russia hoax, or it's not the economy or China or Russia or whatever. This is the people of California. And the truth is, if we didn't have these cities that steal votes, California would be red. California is not really a blue city or a blue state. It only seems that way because these cities haven't figured out how to, and I know they're overpopulated, but they are able to steal votes on top of all these liberal cities that are overpopulated, right? And that's how California is blue. They say it's blue, right? But if you look on a map, there's like 3 cities in California that are like blue, and then the rest of California is all red. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there for you so you could see that. Last week, Alex Jones was on Brennan talking about the new CBDC bill that they're trying to push in the House right now. It's currently on the Hill, and they're going around and around about it. And I just wanted to cover that. I'm going to cover. I want to play this John Bound report first to set it up so you understand exactly. If you don't really know what central bank digital currency is, I'm going to give you the information, and then I want you to hear what Alex Jones talks about, what he says about this thing that's going on in the House where they're trying to push it through. And this is not the first time. They keep bringing it up, and it keeps getting knocked down, but they keep bringing it in a different way. That's what they do. They put something in a bill, it gets taken out of the bill, and they put it in another bill a different way. And they just keep, clawing at it until they get what they want. These liberals are smart. They're very smart in how they do things. Stand by. Oops.
I'm very confused about the Genius Act. I thought there was a deal made by the president to make sure that included was going to be the central bank digital currency. There'd be no possibility of a backdoor to get that. So where are we?
This was a closed rule. Johnson did not allow us to make amendments to the Genius Act, to make an amendment to put a ban on CBDC in the Genius Act. We were told, you don't have a right to amendments. You don't get to do your legislative process anymore. You just have to vote on it. And they forced it through, making what I think is a fake deal. And I wish the Freedom Caucus had held, but they didn't. They want to work and they want to pass the president's agenda, and I do too. But I'm not willing to go along with the pathway to a central bank digital currency in a cashless society where none of us can control our money. Because I don't trust the government, and no one else should trust the government. And just because this administration is committed to that doesn't mean that a future administration will not lock down our bank accounts if we are not doing and saying what they want us to do. We've already been there. That was the past 4 years.
When you go past one of these number plate cameras, when you quote shouldn't, you won't be able to challenge the fine, because the fine will be taken out of your digital account the moment you transgress.
At the world's busiest airport in Atlanta,
all right, you're fully verified.
The TSA checkpoint has gotten a high-tech upgrade.
You're going to take your ID, insert it into the card reader.
Using this facial recognition camera system to compare a flyer's face to their picture on their ID in seconds.
The Genius Act, already greenlit by a bipartisan Senate, claims to slap a federal harness on stable coins. Stable coins aim for price stability through mechanisms like backing each coin with reserves of cash, bonds, or other assets. The Clarity Act is a tug of war over who gets to leash these digital assets. Will it be the SEC or the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, potentially prying them loose from the SEC's iron grip? A move the crypto rebels have been howling for. The Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, championed by Republicans, aims to slam the door on a central bank digital currency, citing nightmares of government snooping and control. Yet many warn of a sinister backdoor, a legislative sleight of hand that could see these bills, if watered down in the Senate or hitched to must-pass juggernauts like the NDAA, could pave the way for a CBDC Trojan horse.
It's really hard to overstate how dangerous it is. It is literally the mark of the beast system, a global social credit score, the ESG corporate governance systems right down into your smart devices, your phone, the smart appliances, the AI, surveilling everyone in live time.
You don't expect your air-fried chips to come with a side of surveillance, but research has found they might.
Do I need umbrella for tomorrow in London?
From tracking locations to listening to conversations to knowing your gender and date of birth, our devices, in some cases, are acutely smart.
And so it's really the ring of Sauron to bind everybody together with total control. And we have the head of the IMF and the World Bank and the International Bank of Settlements and the head of the UN and all of them. We have Tedros, the head of the WHO, saying we need a global central bank digital currency to control everything you do, to lock you down during new pandemics they've got planned. This is the mechanism. It'll be your internet ID. It'll do everything. And if we think as populists and conservatives and Christians and common sense people that we've been debanked and harassed as conservatives before, this is exponentially more dangerous. And the big international banks that the Federal Reserve is part of, private, they have said this is their holy grail, and they're really, really trying to roll it out. And so the fact that there is a pathway to this with a digital central bank digital currency dollar in this Genius Act, and that only MTG and you and a few others have been exposing it, it is a nightmare.
John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
Huge announcement.
Yeah, so that CBDC is something else, because not only is it, there's a couple things in that. The stable coin, I don't know if you know what that stable coin, I was listening, we're going to cover it later when we get into the war stuff, because we're going to talk about nuclear war that's supposed to happen in the next 12 months. That's already started. This war has already started. and that it's going to progress rapidly in the next 12 months to where they're going to start doing, from what or Martin Armstrong talks about, a nuclear war. Yes, a nuclear war. I know it sounds a lot, but one of the things he talks about is the stable coin is actually the war coin. So we're going to get into that a little bit later. But what do you think about CBDC? Do you want to be told when you can eat meat or you can't, or what, if you can buy eggs, or if you can go to the store, or if you can get gas in or if you can plug your car in, because they're going to take all the gasoline engines away and make you have some kind of electric vehicle that you can only drive on certain days of the week, because you can only plug it in when they say, and it's going to cost money, and they'll turn your bank card off, and then you can't go to the store, you can't buy things that you want if you've had too much chocolate or whatever it is. And like that one thing that they were showing the car reader reading the car, and you get a ticket for a stoplight, not stopping all the way at a stop sign, and they just bill you. You don't go to court. They just say, okay, it's $700, and they just take it out of your account, because they have full access to your money. That's what CBDC is. Whether you understand it or not, it's about complete control over your money. And what they want to get to is everything automated. So everything's ran by robots, and you get allotted a certain amount of money to live on, and you're just in the in the matrix, and you don't even work. You just live in the matrix, and they give you your allotted amount of money. And if you say the wrong thing, or you do the wrong thing, or you act the wrong way, or you don't go with the flow, then they shut it off, and then you starve to death. And so will your kids. That's what this looks like in the long run. So it might look cute now. You put your ID in the airport and your driver's license in. It takes a picture of you. It connects you to your retina, and then you can get on the plane. That's complete control, and that's what the CBDC is. It's not just financial. It's not just money. It's like all of it. The real ID, all of it. It's all connected to total control over everything that you do. And I don't know if people realize that. So that's why I know I covered it briefly last week when I had Master Sergeant Rose on when he was here with me, but I didn't get to cover it in detail because we're covering other topics and doing, and when I have a guest, I kind of want them to say what they need to say. And so that's why I'm talking about the CBDC again this week. And plus, this is not one of those things where it's like, oh, well, maybe it's okay. It's not. No part of the central bank digital currency is okay, where they have control of your money and what you eat and what you do and where you go and how many kids you can have, all that stuff. It's all connected to control. All right. So, and I know that Alex was on, they played a little bit of the Alex on Bannon, but I want to play the whole thing for us in the whole interview. It's about 4 minutes, I think. Let me see. How long is that? How long is it? It's about 4 minutes. I want you to listen to what Alex Jones now, and I'm wearing my today's conspiracy theories, tomorrow's truths, because Alex Jones is always right. He's just right. And for all of you that when you hear the name Alex Jones, my brother-in-law called me, or I was talking to my sister, and he wanted to get on the phone. He wanted to ask me about what's the deal with Alex Jones. I'll tell you what the deal with Alex Jones is, Mark. Just to be clear, Alex Jones has been right. He's not the person that killed those kids at Sandy Hook, and all he did was report on it. The reason why he went through all that stuff and still going through all that stuff with the Sandy Hook debacle was because the CIA and the deep state, they want to take him down. And if you was here for the beginning of the show, you see why. Because the government, deep state, want to take him out because he's so connected to everything that's going on all the time that he's advising the president, because the deep state is in every crack and crevice in the government, and you gotta know which ones to get rid of and which ones not to, and what's coming up and what's going on. It's all he does. 31 years of every day, all day long, and I do some. I mean, the last 5 or 6 years, I've been really connected to the whole thing with the deep state and the politics and the New World Order and all this stuff. I've really been studying it and figuring it out and doing all that stuff. But he's been doing it for 31 years, 40 really, because he's been doing it since he was a kid. And so that's why the deep state wanted to take him out, and that's why they sued him in a fake trial where they said that he was guilty before he didn't even go in front of a judge to find him guilty. They said he was guilty, and then he went to court for a civil suit to how much he had to pay. Okay. It's really like $2 trillion what they wanted, but that's the truth about Alex Jones, his whole thing with the Sandy Hook, which is actually in appeal right now. And it looks like he's going to win all of it anyway. And so my hope is that he doesn't lose InfoWars, because every day they're trying to take InfoWars from him and all that stuff. Alex Jones has been right. So that's my answer to that whole thing. Why do you always cover Alex Jones? Because he's right. And I know that he's got more staff than I do. It's just me. So they do a bunch of stuff to put all these reports together so I don't have to. And why wouldn't I use his information, which is always right, or mostly right? We'll say mostly right. So, for those of you that don't know how hard it is to do what I'm doing right now and to do all this stuff, it takes a whole team I don't have. So anyway, Steve Bannon and Alex Jones, stand by.
President Trump wrote an executive order about digital currency. One of the things people said, hey, it doesn't shut down the possibility of central bank digital currency. The Genius Act didn't do it. They've got a deal that they're going to slip something in the NDAA, but that may not pass the Senate. Just can you give your overall, the audience, your overall observations when it comes to the potential dangers of a central bank digital currency, sir?
It's really hard to overstate how dangerous it is. It is literally the mark of the beast system, a global social credit score, the ESG corporate governance systems right down into your smart devices, your phone, the smart appliances, the AI, surveilling everyone in live time. As you know, China's already had it in place about 7 years. Ground robots, drones being directed by it. The goal is you can't leave 1 foot outside your house, to quote the Chinese Communist government, if you're not in good standing. You can't get on a train, you can't rent a car, you can't rent a hotel, you can't have a job. And the UN, the WEF, and others for decades, and Bill Gates has been heavily involved, have already created the standardization for this with China for a global rollout of central bank digital currencies that the nations then comport to. And essentially, it'll end up being one big global corporate new currency that would replace the dollar. So Trump wisely in the last few years said he is against any central bank digital currency system, and he would oppose one foreign, which is basically what the BRICS is forming, and that he would oppose one here. He has supported Bitcoin and things that actually diversify currencies to the public that are free and open and open source, and a competing market of currencies, which is the answer. And so it's really the ring of Sauron to bind everybody together with total control. And we have the head of the IMF and the World Bank and the International Bank of Settlements and the head of the UN and all of them. We have Tedros, the head of the WHO, saying we need a global central bank digital currency to control everything you do, to lock you down during new pandemics they've got planned. this is the mechanism. It'll be your internet ID. It'll do everything. And if we think as populists and conservatives and Christians and common sense people that we've been debanked and harassed as conservatives before, this is exponentially more dangerous. And the big international banks that the Federal Reserve is part of, private, they have said this is their holy grail, and they're really, really trying to roll it out. And so the fact that there is a pathway to this with a digital central bank digital currency dollar in this Genius Act, and that only MTG and you and a few others have been exposing it, it is a nightmare. But 11th hour, we shot down, thanks to you and others exposing it, when they had mainly pro votes for it. A large majority were supporting the AI liability protection for 10 years from the states and individuals, where AI would basically be above the law and could do whatever it wanted. That was just a blank check. We were able to then shoot that down in the big, beautiful bill, 99 to 1 vote. And so I think as we expose this section of the Genius Act, I believe that we can probably get that pulled out as well, because I would imagine, Trump sticks to his guns, understands this, and I don't think that Trump probably even knows about this at this point. You might go have lunch with him again and update him on what's happening. But I think if we cause a big enough stink about this, we can shoot this down. But at the end of the day, it's a threat to the dollar.
Yeah, so it's a threat to the dollar. It's a threat to, and I know I've already covered it pretty well, but with the dollar losing value so much and everybody shifting to Bitcoin and XRP and all that stuff, the CBDC is just a way to control us, where they're creating these other different types of ways of financial means to get away from the dollar, which they're doing. They really are. The dollar is dropping. Trump's doing his best to fix it, but he's also doing a bunch of stuff with all these coins and all these crypto and XRP and Ripple XRP and all that stuff. So there is other stuff getting ready to happen, but we're trying to save the dollar while the globalists are trying to create the CBDC to cripple the dollar. So I think I've covered that enough. So we're going to get into this, and this is going to be, since this, we've been talking about, Trump talked about the Russia hoax for years, and everybody always said that he was, full of shit, and he was a Russian agent, and, all those different things. And so I've gotten it broke down quite a bit here. This is going to be a pretty long segment, I think, because of what I put together here. But let's get into this. As we know, indictments are coming. Probably the way, unless they have a workaround of some sort, I don't think that Obama. The only way that Obama could be indicted is if he was doing something when he wasn't president. Now, and I don't know if they can nail that down, but Clapper, Brennan, Susan Rice, all those deep staters, they're definitely going to get indicted. That's what it sounds like. And Trump's not messing around. You heard him. He's not messing around. So let's get into this. We're just going to go through. I have a bunch of video, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, quite a few, but let's just get into it. Stand by.
The question is, you open a counterintelligence investigation to understand, are any Americans in cahoots with the foreign intelligence activities of an adversary nation?
When the Steele dossier comes out sometime early July, when did you personally learn about the memos in the dossier?
sometime in the fall. I don't remember exactly when.
So who told you about them?
I don't remember. Someone on my senior staff.
Do you remember how they were described?
I remember they briefed me about it, explained that it came from a reliable source, former Allied intelligence officer.
When did you learn that the DNC and Hillary Clinton campaign had funded Christopher Steele's work?
Yeah, I still don't know that for a fact.
What do you mean?
I've only seen it in the media. I never knew exactly which Democrats had funded. I knew it was funded first by Republicans, opposed to Donald.
That's not true.
I'm sorry?
That's not true. That the dossier that Christopher Steele worked on was funded by Republicans?
My understanding was his work started funded by Oppo Research, funded by Republicans.
So Free Beacon and said that they had Glenn Simpson and Fusion GPS on a kind of a retainer, but they did not fund the Christopher Steele memo or the dossier. That was initiated by Democrats.
Okay, my understanding was the activity was begun that Steele was hired to look into, was first funded by Republicans, then picked up, the important thing was picked up by Democrats opposed to Donald Trump.
Did you tell President Obama that the dossier was who it was funded by?
No, not to my recollection.
Did you want to know who it was funded by?
I wanted to know what I knew, which is it was funded by people politically opposed to Donald Trump.
So you still to this day don't know that it was funded by the DNC or
I've read
the
that in
Clinton
the
campaign?
media, but I don't know for a fact and didn't know while I was at the FBI.
To what extent did you brief President Obama on the dossier?
I didn't ever brief President Obama on the dossier. I was present during a conversation where Director of National Intelligence briefed it to him as we did to the Gang of Eight and to the President-elect the first week of January.
You called the dossier unverified, salacious. Why did you use that to the FISA court to ask for surveillance for Carter Page? Not only use it, but you led with it. A bulk of that FISA application deals with that dossier. Why?
My recollection was it was part of a broader mosaic of facts that were laid before the FISA judge to obtain a FISA warrant.
You briefed the president-elect on kind of the sliver of the dossier, really the salacious part about the prostitutes in Moscow and that allegation.
My mission in that private briefing was just to tell him about that slice of it.
And who suggested you brief that?
I think the Director of National Intelligence did, and explained the logic of why it made sense for me to do it, which I agreed with.
So that briefing was just oral. It was just talking to the
Correct,
president.
just the two of us.
You write in the memos of that meeting, you write, I said to President-elect Trump, media like CNN had the dossier and were looking for a news hook. I said it was inflammatory stuff. So the story of that briefing leaks out almost immediately after you do it. CNN and others run the story of this unverified dossier. Did you or your subordinates leak that?
No.
Did James Clapper?
No, not to my knowledge. No.
John Brennan?
I don't know who leaked it. I had no part in any leaking of it. It was about 4 or 5 days later that it leaked, but I remember because President-elect called me about it.
Did you ever try to find out?
Who leaked an unclassified public document? No.
Did you inform the president-elect at the time what you knew about how it was funded or who was behind it?
No, I did not.
Did you inform him that Christopher Steele had been fired by the FBI?
No.
Or that he had lied?
No, and I didn't know those things at that time anyway.
Or that it had been used, at least in part, to get this FISA application to spy on somebody in his campaign?
No, didn't come up.
Is it fair to say that President Obama and his inner circle knew a lot more about the dossier and the scope of the investigation than President-elect Trump and his team?
They knew the same set of facts, as did the leaders of.
Do you see crimes here?
I do, Sean, and I'm referring all of these documents that we have found and uncovered, referring them to the Department of Justice for further investigation, accountability, and action, not just investigation, but action. Accountability has to take place. The American people's ability to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic is literally what's at stake, and therefore the future of our ability to exist as the country.
Good. Do it. We're entering a new era, my friends. So here's the big announcement. When you've got Tulsi Gabbard making a criminal referral publicly against these people, that is a huge deal. That's the Director of National Intelligence giving all these secret files to the public and to the DOJ, and even more that has sources and methods and things in it that's being transferred. This is open and shut. They've already released documents proving it at Obama's direction. They all got together and cooked up all these lies. and did all of this, and then did it again in 2020 with a Hunter Biden laptop and all the rest of it, and censored everybody and the rest of it. So here's what I'm told and what I can already see from my White House sources, from my DOJ sources, from Roger Stone, his talks with the president, and others. Finally, they have the smoking gun. They are preparing all the information because it's a smoking gun, doesn't take long, and they are preparing the indictments of Brennan, Clapper, and Comey.
I think this past weekend is illustrative of what a great case officer Vladimir Putin is. He knows how to handle an asset, and that's what he's doing with the president.
You're saying that Russia is handling President Trump as an asset?
That seems to be that's the appearance to me.
When the director says that she's referred these filings to the Justice Department for criminal investigation, tonight we're told they formed what is called a strike force. Do you have concerns that they will attempt to prosecute you?
Well, certainly I do. After 8.5 years of this, and I don't know of an intelligence product that was more scrutinized, more investigated than that product was by numerous people. It's very disconcerting. It really is. And I take seriously when the President of the United States accuses me of being a participant in a treasonous conspiracy, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, what's your reaction to that?
It's ridiculous. It is untrue.
So what will you do if they come after you? What is your plan?
Well, I'll lawyer up, I suppose. Already have.
You've already hired attorneys in anticipation that this Trump Justice Department could try to prosecute you.
We've had sort of perpetual attorneys since I left the government in 2017.
Former Director James Clapper, thank you for joining us tonight to respond to
Thanks,
this.
Caitlin, for having me.
Appreciate your time.
Who should be scared tonight?
All of the people you've identified. Comey, Clapper, and Brennan, the sort of three stooges of Obama's national security team. Obama himself. Biden was in on some of the meeting. I mean, this is what these malign actors did, Sean. Any reliable intelligence that exonerated Trump was classified and buried until now, while phony intel was conjured up and peddled as credible just to frame Donald Trump. And Obama, he was central in all of this. He was told at the outset that Hillary invented the false collusion narrative to smear her opponent. The intelligence community totally rejected it as bogus, finding that Russia did not meddle to help Trump. Obama could have stepped forward, done the right thing, told the American people the truth. But he didn't do that. He ordered this new intel assessment that said the exact opposite of the truth. Why? To propagate the hoax. And Brennan and others did his dirty work, Sean, and those who objected, and a lot of the intel agencies did object, they were sidelined and silenced. So as I wrote in a column this week, never before has an American president connived to sabotage and destroy his successor as Barack Obama did, Sean.
Do you see crimes here?
I do, Sean, and I'm referring all of these documents that we have found and uncovered, referring them to the Department of Justice for further investigation, accountability, and action, not just investigation, but action. Accountability has to take place. The American people's ability to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic is literally what's at stake, and therefore the future of our ability to exist as the country.
Good. Do it.
We will be releasing further documents tomorrow that will refute that statement. And I would go back and point to, and we will be pulling a whole host of statements that were made by the Obama administration, by Hillary Clinton, by senior Democrat officials, by their friends in the media that state over and over again after this January 2017 manufactured intelligence document was created that repeat the narrative. And I'm looking at my notes here. New York Times says Russian hackers acted to aid Trump in the election. Obama's CIA Director John Brennan says there is strong consensus among us to support the CIA claim Russian hackers aided Donald Trump's election. Hillary Clinton said, I would be president if not for the Russian hackers supporting Donald Trump. So there is a vast body of evidence and intelligence that debunks and refutes this statement you've just read and others coming from some of the Democrat leaders in Congress today.
Yeah, I wanted to play some of that from 18 and before and after and what Clapper said. And I think Clapper is the weak link in all this. So if they could just get Clapper under oath and in interview room, I'm sure that he'll sing. You could see it on his face. He's scared to death about what they did. And so Clapper came out, Brennan came out, and Comey came out, and they all said that they were working at the direction of Obama. But again, Obama has presidential immunity. Now, where that stops at, I don't know. I don't know if it continues past, if it continues on after he's not in office, or if his presidential immunity ends when he's not in office. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how that's going to go. But I thought that it was really good to see Christopher Steele getting his ass handed to him by Natalie Winters. Let me play that clip for you because that one is worth its moments. It's worth its 2 minutes for sure. What Natalie Winters said to him on Piers Morgan. Stand by.
Well, I know Christopher Steele probably wanted to go down in history as someone that colluded with the Clinton campaign to take down President Donald J. Trump, but I really think that you represent probably the ultimate grifter in the American political space. For you to even come on here, obviously you're trying to sabotage what President Trump is doing when it comes to Russia and Ukraine, but to sit here, what is it, nearly a decade after you smear President Trump as a Russian asset, to then say, well, I think he's a Russian asset, but even though I'm really good at my job and create all these intelligence reports, it's just sort of a feeling that I have. I'm sorry, what stones do you even have left to turn over to try to corroborate your claim that President Trump is a Russian asset? You what? Weaponized FISA courts, surveillance, warrants, not just domestic spy agencies, international spy agencies too, the entire DNC apparatus, a bunch of political operatives and registered foreign agents here in the United States. The American people would really appreciate it if you would stop injecting your efforts to curtail and totally tank the America First movement by smearing anyone who doesn't want to get involved in forever wars or continue the needless and ceaseless dying of Ukraine and in Russia, just so you can sit there from your nice perch and just continue to defend the globalist world order by continuing to fan the flames of conflict in Russia and Ukraine. And you know what? The same people that you ally yourself with here in the United States, you think you're so good at gathering intelligence. Last time I checked, it was the 51 intel agency officers, spies, who said that the Hunter Biden hard drive, which I've reported on firsthand, it's legitimate. You want to talk about president's sons who are involved in businesses with foreign countries? Well, I'd like to introduce you to Hunter Biden, right? When those 51 people that I'm sure that you know all too well, you were probably likely involved with the drafting of that letter, said that that was Russian disinformation. Well, it turned out that that was true, and shame on you for the last decade trying to inject the idea that smearing President Trump as a Russian agent or a Russian asset is somehow going to tank the MAGA movement. It's about putting America first, and the fact that you can still sit here and you have no actual evidence beside one random Russian meeting, and oh, we need to just continue to get more evidence. You're a complete political hack and grifter, and I wish the American political scene didn't have your voice in it.
All right. Well, Christopher Steele, you're about to leave us because you're only here for this part of the panel. But your response finally to that?
My response is that I'm a professional intelligence officer, an expert on that part of the world. I'm not a politician.
Was the Hunter Biden hard drive Russian disinformation then, if you're such an expert?
Let him finish. Let him finish. So I've been a loyal and close ally of the United States for probably most of the last 40 years. I've worked extremely closely with officials working for administrations, both Republican and Democrat. I have a very strong US client base for which I've worked and produced information over many years, none of whom have ever made any such allegation against me. And it's palpable nonsense to claim that I'm in hoc with politicians.
I'm so glad the Clinton campaign didn't say that about you.
Well, I never worked for the Clinton campaign. I never had any contact with the Clinton campaign. That's the reality of it.
Oh, you're a subcontractor.
I think Fusion GPS would beg to
I
differ.
produced a report for a partner firm in Washington, and the results of that report made me, as an ally of the United States, as I would have expected an American counterpart to do, to report back in what I had found to the contacts I had in the FBI at the time.
Okay.
That was the right thing to do, and I'm proud that I
Well,
did.
what's
All
the
right,
Hunter Biden
we're going to leave it there. No, I think everyone's had their say about
I'd love
Christopher
his
Steele.
expert opinion.
Let's leave it there. I want to move on to other subjects. Christopher Steele, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. We're going to let you go. Anthony Scaramucci.
Pierce Morgan wanted to end that one quick because that's too hot. I love Natalie Winters with her commentary, and she's right. I mean, the truth is Christopher Steele is a, I don't even know what you call him. We'll just say not a very nice person. He's one of the people that, went along with the Russian hoax forever and ever and ever. Anyway, so I was in my research, I found a couple videos here that are pretty interesting. We're going to play them back to back. It's Glenn Beck breaking down the deep state. I think it's important for those of you like me that really don't know as much about who they are or what they are or how they came about, all these different things. And Glenn Beck breaks it down pretty well, at least from my understanding of the deep state, Susan Rice, and, all those characters. So stand by.
Back to the new and recently declassified data. In these, from December 7th, 2016, the talking points prepared for Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, claiming, quote, "We assess that foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on the election infrastructure to alter the United States presidential election outcome this year. We have no evidence of cyber manipulation of election infrastructure intended to alter the results." Okay. All right. But nobody at this point was really even talking about were they hacking into systems. It was all about Trump having a tie to a Russian bank, Trump being in bed. He's going to be a puppet now. All of that. That's what people were talking about because that's what they were alleging through the press. Now, on December 8th, 2016, the Presidential Daily Brief draft, just a month after the election, states that Russia, quote, "did not impact the recent U.S. election results." Well, now this particular, because this draft comes out here, that means he's the president-elect. So if it's in the Presidential Daily Briefing, Michael Flynn and Donald Trump will get that same draft. They will see the same report when it comes in. So later that day, phone call comes in. Stop. Do not release that draft. Do not give it to the president. Why? Well, it came from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Quote, "Based on some new guidance, we're going to push back publication of the PDB. It will not run tomorrow and is not likely to run until next week." Notice it says on some new guidance. Guidance, not new information, new guidance. And who gave that guidance? Well, the answer comes the very next day, December 9th, 2016. Obama's national security team meet in the Situation Room for 2 hours, 11:30 to 1:30. Take a look at the names that attended. Barack Obama, Susan Rice, John Brennan, James Comey, Ben Rhodes, John Kerry, Loretta Lynch, Jay Johnson, Victoria Nuland, and Joe Biden. I mean, this is the deep state. It is the biggest deep state officials, the gathering. It was like a deep state picnic. How many other scandals are linked just to those names? All right, during the meeting, the shift occurred. It was a shift that defied every single intelligence community assessment up until this point. Because remember, Trump was not supposed to win. Now the president gives the National Security Council new marching orders. Quote, the IC is prepared to produce an assessment per the president's request that pulls together the information we have on the tools and the actions it took to influence the 2016 election. An explanation of why Moscow directed these activities and how Moscow's approach has changed over time. Notice it doesn't say, based on new intelligence. It doesn't say, hey, by the way, there was nothing that changed the election, digitally, but as we've been talking about the whole time. No, we don't have a new whistleblower. We don't have any super secret intercepts that prove yada, yada, yada. Nothing. It's direction from this man. This is what I wanted to read per the president's request. Obama was unhappy, and the witch hunt commenced, or should I say the coup commenced. Oh, and guess what else happened that day? This is a wild coincidence. The Washington Post actually has a story that drops this day. Secret CIA assessment says Russia was trying to help Trump win. Wow! The same day President Obama came to that conclusion and said, this is what I want this to. The same day. Wow. What a coincidence. Now keep in mind, every assessment up until that day claimed all of this was bogus. But Obama made the request and told them all to go back to the drawing board and figure out something else. And suddenly, that same day, the Washington Post receives information from super secret but high authority that furthers the narrative. At this point in the timeline, we're not out of 2016. And it gets crazier once Donald Trump assumes office, which I believe was the entire point. The entire timeline now is about to snowball into investigation, threats of impeachment, questionable federal judges, media frenzy, and so much more. The entire mass conspiracy comes together by the end, and I will show you the end of this board when we come back. This is the latest release from Tulsi Gabbard, just this morning. It is the oversight on Obama's ICA. And it was completed by the House Intel Committee during Trump's first term, okay? And it was suppressed from the public. Only 5 copies were made and kept in one of the most secure vaults in America. No one was ever supposed to see this. Why didn't the Republicans want this out? It shows John Brennan how he overruled his staff because they all came to him and they said, where's the new evidence? He said, I have new evidence you haven't seen. But they never showed the new evidence. He was never asked to talk about the new evidence. And his underlings all said, we can't do this. This is a problem. This violates everything we know about data collection and reports. Doesn't matter. It also shows that it was Hillary Clinton that the Russians had compromising information on, like blackmail, like intel. Not on Trump. Hillary Clinton was riddled with health problems, and the Russians knew it because it was on the hacked servers. Also, they knew about several scandals, all talked about in this. They wanted her to be president. They thought she was unstable, but they thought she could be a puppet because there was so much dirt on her. What? It wasn't Trump that would be blackmailed. It was Hillary Clinton. Putin wanted her to be the puppet. So, what happened here?
That's a pretty good breakdown from Beck. So they're running this hoax. Obama is pissed off that Hillary's not going to win or didn't win. They start this Russian collusion hoax thing. They run it up the fucking chain through the media and all the different people, and they got it all over the place. They said there was no proof that there was Russia hoax, And instead of it dropping dead right there, they continued it. Clapper kept pushing it. Brennan, Clapper, and Comey and Rice and all those characters, and Hillary Clinton. And because remember, years later, Hillary's on some I don't know, The View, wherever the hell, some MSNBC or something, and she's like, I think it was after the 2020 election was stolen, and she's like, well, if they stole the election for Biden, why didn't they steal it for me? Right? Well, so she was the corrupt person that they were trying to install, but Trump overwhelmed the voting polls and he won. And so now they had to do something to cripple his administration. So, and all the deep staters were still in there, so he couldn't get anything done because every time he tried to do something, remember, national security, all these different people, the Pentagon, everybody, were against Trump. And anytime he wanted something done, he would tell them to do it and they wouldn't do it. Remember all that? So this adds to it because it's all coming out. There's hundreds of thousands of pages more coming out in the next few days from Gabbard for all this stuff that has, it's just super clear. And she's like smoking gun information. You heard what Alex Jones said earlier. And Hillary Clinton was the one that was compromised by Russia, and Russia wanted Hillary Clinton in there because they had so much dirt on her that they could control her. 2016, 2017. Okay. So that's what we found out so far. And then now we're getting this information that why didn't Clapper bring it out then? Because it was all part of their plan to cripple Trump's administration. Remember Russia hoax? Perfect phone call with Zelensky, corruption and all, impeachments and all this stuff and all the different things that they did to Trump when he was in the White House. He could never get anything done because they would block everything, just like they tried to do this time. But now he's got an administration that is working with him instead of against him. So then Rep Luna is also on Beck, and listen to what she says about this whole little thing that's going on with the documents and the information about what we're talking about right now. Stand by.
What she released today, that was in a vault. There were 5 copies, but it was part of the intel review done by the House when Trump was in office.
And they didn't release it.
Why?
I would say because former people that were head of the intelligence community, and remember, if you go back to even, I'll just use this as an example, the speakers fight in January of 2 years ago, a lot of people were like, why are these people fighting for such changes in the House of Representatives, whether it was people in charge of committees or the Rules Committee, which determines the legislation that comes to the floor? It was because it was our own people that were blocking this information. I actually just brought this up earlier today. Why did the former ODNI not release this information? And why is it that you have Republican senators now trying to claw back Tulsi's power? What are they so afraid of? What are they so afraid of that they're then trying to tell her that she doesn't have the authority to do what she's doing? So look, accountability is key, but they should have released this information then. And you're really seeing, even though it's the same president, 2 very different administrations. The administration in 2016 under President Trump was filled with a lot of swampy people and people that were trying to stonewall and block his agenda. Right. It's totally different right now.
Yep. So totally different now. And we're going to get into that. Now, listen. So for all of you that are like I am, I'm very, I get into these modes of like, nothing's ever going to work. They're never going to arrest anybody. They haven't put anybody in handcuffs. Need to get rid of Bondi. What the hell is Bongino doing? What's Cash Patel doing? Why is nothing getting done? And then I go, hold on a minute. And I take a step back. Okay. And when I took a step back several weeks ago and I was like, listen, let's give Bondi a benefit of the doubt. All these different things are happening simultaneously to this stuff that's up front. All this stuff is like, it's up front. Everything that we're talking about right now, the Epstein files, the economy, all these things are up here, and down below in the background, maybe, on the green screen, you look at all the things that has actually happened, like the 2A stuff. Bondi has done great stuff for our Second Amendment rights. 2A, getting people that have bullshit felonies to be able to have their gun rights back. The bans on automatic weapons and silencers. All these different things are going on in the 2A community right now, and it's all because AG Bondi has got those turned around, got those into court, and the federal Supreme Court justices are reversing all these things that has happened over all these administrations with Obama and with Biden and with Trump, because Trump made a mistake when he did that. What's it called? The trigger. I can't remember what it's called right now. The trigger ban. He didn't know. And remember, he had all the deep staters in there feeding him information, and he's thinking that the bum stock, that's what it was. The bum stock was a bad thing to have on a weapon when it goes against constitutional rights to be able to bear arms. And that can't be reversed and they've reversed that. I don't know where it's at currently. I haven't asked my connection at my legislature connection about that yet, because I've been working on some other stuff with them. But you think about all these things that she has done that are really good things, but I'm so concerned about the ones that are out front, like the Epstein files, and then now this Russia hoax, all these different things. And we forget that all the things that she has done that have been great for our country. So I wanted to give her a little bit of credit, but I was pissed off because of the Epstein files. And then I found out through Alex Jones that the Epstein files, the whole thing with that, the whole Epstein thing was Trump's doing and not Bondi. And Bondi was just doing what Trump told her to do. And that's why Bongino and Cash Patel were they look like deer in the headlights when they were giving those statements on Fox News. They look like they were being interrogated. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So let's listen to what we're wrapping this up. I got one more from Telsey, Gabbard, DNI, and then we're gonna move on. I have a couple more, excuse me, but I'm going to play these back to back. We'll get these out of the way, and then we'll talk about them. Stand by.
Now, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and others, including their mouthpieces in the media, knowingly lied as they repeated the contrived narrative that was created in this January 2017 intelligence community assessment with high confidence as though it were fact. John Brennan, as CIA director, stated in a memo to his agency staff in December of 2016, saying, quote, "There is strong consensus among us on the scope, nature, and intent of Russian interference in our presidential election." This was reported by NBC News, confirming that Brennan, along with James Clapper and James Comey, agreed with the CIA's assessment that Russia intervened to help Trump win the presidency. As Obama's director of national intelligence, James Clapper was tasked with overseeing the creation of this assessment in January of 2017 by President Obama, and he expressed confidence in its findings. In a 2018 interview with the Harvard Gazette, he talked about how he provided Trump with the same classified assessment that President Obama received, which is the high confidence judgment that Putin directly ordered the hacking and election interference. Clapper then went on to add, I think they, the Russians, actually influenced the outcome. This is a brief summary of the details that you'll find within the House Majority Staff's report in their investigation into the Obama-directed January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment. That leads us to the very same conclusion that we announced in the release of our documents on Friday. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming president of the United States, Donald Trump.
Which certainly I think we knew it before, in all fairness, Tulsi, but now you have certainty. She has all the documents, she has everything that you need, and she found out that Barack Hussein Obama led a group of people and they cheated in the elections, and they cheated without question. It's not even a quote. Would you say there's even a little question there, Tulsi? She says no. And you found things that nobody thought we'd ever find. And very happy and very honored to have you with us. She's right now, by far, Speaker, she's hotter than you right now, Speaker. She's the hottest person in the room right now, Speaker. So, Tulsi, great job. And I know you have a lot more coming. She told me you've seen nothing yet. So I heard those rumors about you, but now I know they're true. So we're very proud of you, Tulsi. They cheated.
For President Obama, we might not have done the intelligence community assessment that we did that set off a whole sequence of events which are still unfolding today. President Obama is responsible for that, and it was he who tasked us to do that intelligence community assessment in the first place. It was he who tasked us to do that intelligence community assessment.
Yep. So there it is. Obama was directing, and we've already seen it with the clip from Glenn Beck, but so he's on TV or on the phone talking to Trey Gowdy or whatever, I think it was Trey Gowdy, I don't know who it was, about Obama was the one that directed that whole thing. Now it leads me to this other question, which is, if Obama is president and he gives the order to do something, does it fall under president immunity? Does it fall under executive privilege? Where does it land? That's the question for the lawyers out there. Where does it land with this whole thing? Because we know that we got them dead to right on these, and this is probably bigger than any of them, because we're talking about our elections. We're talking about a coup to take down a president of the United States, duly elected, all that stuff. It's probably bigger. I mean, I think constitutionally it's bigger, but there's nothing bigger than raping children. There's not. There's just nothing that even comes close to pedophilia and all that whole thing. So, but as far as like constitutionally and our country and free and fair elections and all the work that we've done the last few years to turn around the voting polls and rolls and this and that and all that stuff, this is probably the biggest thing because of the implication and what it does to our country when we don't have elections that are free and fair. So, I mean, yeah, the Russia hoax thing, this whole thing that's going on, because it's bigger than just them taking and saying that Trump was a Russian agent, because that was just one straw of all this stuff that they've done over the last 8 years to Trump, right? All these different things, saying that he, raped people and that, and Jean Carroll and saying that he raped her in a dressing room bathroom or dressing room at a department store and all these different things. This all goes together. They tried to kill Trump twice, all connected. I believe that all this stuff is all together with the deep state and their cronies and all the stuff that they've done. I really think that it all goes together. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have it. All right, so just thinking of if I want to do this or not, but I'm just going to do this. It's a short clip. I want to talk. It's about the border. It's about the trafficked kids and how many they've found and how they've arrested a lot of the sponsors. I think it was. Well, let's just run the clip because I can't remember, and we'll come back to it. Stand by. We're switching gears here.
We just got information from an HHS official that shows that 13,061 unaccompanied minors have actually been located under the Trump administration. And ICE, we're learning, is also arresting some of the sponsors. 442 sponsors have been arrested for involvement in suspected child abuse or other crimes are being discovered. Now, the abuse is being determined through a multifaceted investigation if they do determine that sponsor was abusing that child. Now, they're using local police, CPS, federal agencies, they're all involved according to HHS. Now, former special agents with Homeland Security investigations have explained to us that oftentimes these kids are left behind as payment. The parent is often promised by the cartel members that they will eventually be reunited with their child in the U.S. That child, sadly, is often recycled to help single adults enter the country illegally. Now, we know that 320,000 unaccompanied minors were essentially unaccounted for under the Biden administration. The Trump administration, they campaigned on it. They've been talking about it regularly. It's a priority for them to go and find these kids, but still just a fraction, Nicole, 13,000 out of 320,000 so far.
Truly just a fraction there, Allie.
Yeah, it's about 500,000 kids missing, but we'll take the 320. We'll take the ones that the 100 and something that they found. That's great news. It really is. I mean, when you think about it, 13,000 unaccompanied migrant children lost under Biden. 13,000. I mean, that's just from one area because, we knew it was 350,000 and then the most recent one was 500,000 kids missing. That's fucking a lot of kids, man. So I just wanted to cover that. I didn't want that to get by me because I get weird with the kids thing. I have children, it's like, yeah. Anyway, okay. So we're moving on here. Now I wanted to cover this because I like this. What he's saying makes sense. I probably should have put it in the front with the other stuff, with the Epstein stuff, but this is about Bongino and Bondi and Trump and how they ran the whole thing. And I know it's gotten turned around, but I just think that again, you just got to play it. And what you hear, what you see, you got to run with it. So we're going to play this clip and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
I feel bad for Dan Bongino. That dude's getting the raw end of the fucking stick. He posted this shit here today on X. Some shit about catching Chinese scammers. Guess what? No one gave a fuck. The entire comment section, look at this shit, dude. It's rough. It's rough, dude. Ouch. Yeah, everybody's like, hey, Dan, you remember that fucking Epstein file? Remember back when you had like that podcast a long time ago? And you were talking about how that's fucking huge deal and we should get to the bottom of that and fucking maybe have some investigations and arrest some fucking pedophiles. Like, you remember that? You remember that was some good shit. I know it was a long time ago and some of these memes, dude, are fucking pretty fucking funny, right? And if I was Dan, I would be pissed as fuck at Pam Bondi. And I don't know how the fuck she still has a job. Trump really must fucking love her. There must be something there because, like, dude, Laura Loomer's reporting that FBI memo that went out with no date and no name and all bullshit in it about how there's nothing to see here. Pam Bondi released that and Cash and Dan didn't know fuck all about it. That's what Laura Loomer's saying, and she's fucking right the fuck in there on the PBD podcast. She goes all on about it, and that's what fucking Dan Bongino was so fucking pissed about. That's where all that information's coming from, is from Laura Loomer. Yeah, she's the one with the inside sources. And dude, like, how could you not be pissed at Pam Bondi? And if you're Trump and this was your fucking deal the whole time, like, why was Pam Bondi allowed to go out there and be like, I got this list? And everybody's like, bitch, what the fuck you doing? What are you doing? If you never had it, then what the fuck were you talking about? And if you fucking had it and you never looked at it and you were still talking about what's in it without looking in it, because Mike Johnson gave the best defense of it yet today. Mike Johnson that snake fuck actually fucking had pretty good clarification for it. He's like, you remember the Russia hoax collusion? He's like, these same snake fucks had their hands, and the Epstein files, the only thing in there, he's like, the only thing in there is Donald Trump. They took everything else out, and magically the only person on the Epstein file is Donald Trump and a bunch of made up shit, some fucking fake birthday cards and more fake Russia. So that's why Trump's all pissed off, and he's like, that motherfucker's a hoax. Well, yeah, dude, the files that the Dems created on Epstein are a hoax, but Epstein himself was not a hoax, and nobody's letting it go, and Trump is paying a toll in the fucking polls, dude. 17 fucking points down. Lowest approval rating yet. He was riding high. Shit was great. And this thing is a messaging disaster. Among voters 18 to 29, Trump cratered like 50 fucking points. Buddy, get out there, and you better, like, the grand jury shit, dude. And Pam Bondi fumbled this again, dude, with the trying to unseal the grand jury documents, and they fucking said that Obama judge blocked it. You go to the details of that, the Obama judge didn't block it. He was like, dude, I don't have the authority to unseal fucking sealed grand jury testimony from the feds, you geniuses. And the DOJ lawyers were like, yeah, you don't. We know that. So, like, they even knew that was bullshit from the start, and like, that's not Trump's job to fucking know. Pam Bondi's supposed to know how to fucking get these grand jury indictments unsealed, and like you could even go back and declassify and release all the shit from Jeffrey Epstein's 2008 release and his bank statements, and the billions of dollars that went out after his arrest, and then the other $1 billion of money that went out of his account somehow after he died. You might want to look for that. If you want to know who he was working for, go get the bank records. Bet you everything you want to know is right there. There you go, Trump. You're welcome. To the rest of you, good luck. Long live the Republic.
Yeah, what do you think of that? I think he's dead on as far as it goes. I think that maybe she is missing stuff, or maybe she's not up on where she needs to be as an attorney general. I don't know. I do. I feel bad for Bongino. You know, he left a pretty good gig, to go to work for the FBI, and I think that he's become, part of the how do you say it? The fall guy maybe for some of this. I hope that isn't what happens, and I hope they turn this around. I hope that in the near future, with all the stuff that's happening and getting straightened out, that he can redeem himself, because I think Bongino, I think Cash Patel, I think even Bondi, they're all good people. I don't know. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't know about Bondi because of the Susie Wiles thing. And we know that Susie Wiles is deep stater. We know she used to work for vaccine manufacturers. I know she used to work for Netanyahu. You know what I mean? So, I don't know about Bondi. Now, do people change? Do people get better? And do they come to their senses and with some things? Yes. Rubio has. He's came around. He's done a complete 180 since he was in the first administration and when he was at the House and all that stuff. So it's possible. Now, we'll see what happens here in the near future. Trump likes to have those pretty girls running around, and, he's got Pam Bondi in there. And but Susie Wiles should not be there, the advisor for Trump. I just think that she should not be there at all, because she's just, my opinion, she's horrible. But what do I know? I'm just reporting the news. All right. Now, I know that you've probably seen this. Let me see here. 1 second here. I have a clip that goes with this from Hegseth, but let me pull this up. China-backed hackers use Microsoft flaw to attack, defenders say. Now, this is China doing a hacking the government, and so Hegseth came out today talking about it, but I just wanted to cover this short real quickly. And it says hackers' connection to the Chinese government were behind at least some of the widespread attacks in the past few days on organizations that collected software of Microsoft. Defenders working on the intrusion said in interviews. Excuse me. So let's pull this up here. Let's play this Hegseth clip. Stand by.
Earlier this week, we were alerted to a potential vulnerability in our DoD computer systems, and we've been checking into it ever since. It turns out that some tech companies have been using cheap Chinese labor to assist with DoD cloud services. This is obviously unacceptable, especially in today's digital threat environment. Now, this was a legacy system created over a decade ago during the Obama administration. But we have to ensure the digital systems that we use here at the Defense Department are ironclad and impenetrable. And that's why today I'm announcing that China will no longer have any involvement whatsoever in our cloud services effective immediately. And at my direction, the department will also initiate as fast as we can a 2-week review or faster to make sure that what we uncovered isn't happening anywhere else across the DoD. We will continue to monitor and counter all threats to our military infrastructure and online networks. And I want to thank all those Americans out there in the media and elsewhere who raised this issue to our attention so we could address it. And that's why we're talking to you today. As the president would say, thank you for your attention to this matter, and God bless our warfighters. I'm going to sign that memo right now, initiating that review.
Yeah, so I don't know if the two are connected. It seems like they are. I don't know a lot about that, but I seen it when I was doing my research on Pete Hegseth's exposing shocking legacy of Obama administration, which gave China access to sensitive info. That's the thing. That's the headline, right? And so it's interesting that I put all this stuff together in my head about all these different things. Like, for instance, how Clapper hid the information. Well, I know they're deep staters, so that's what they do. But how come nobody seen it and nobody got a hold of it and nobody, because, like, look, we know that, how do I say this? We know that the Epstein files are corrupt. They got all kinds of shit in them that is not legitimate. We know that. They've had them all these years, and they've, put, Maureen Comey took out whatever she wanted, did all that stuff to him to make Trump look bad. And we know that. And they've done this ever since he was coming down the escalator in 2015. They've looked for stuff and made stuff up and all that stuff against him the whole way. We know that. But how did this stuff get under the radar, the Russia hoax thing, again, this the sensitive information? If it's been around that long since Obama was in office, how did this not get seen sooner? It just baffles me that you have thousands and thousands of people in the administration in all these all these areas of the government, and nobody sees this stuff. It takes somebody to say, hey, by the way, you're being hacked by China from some outside enterprise, to tell Hegseth or whoever that this is going on. It baffles me it just does. Anyway, all right. So I'm going to play this little clip from Trump Trump exposed Powell today, which was pretty interesting. Jerome Powell was exposed about the money that they're spending on this remodel of our federal shit. Why can't I think? I can't think of it. Let me play this clip, then I'll remember what I was trying to say. Hold on. Stand by.
Well, thank you very much. We're looking at the construction, and we're with the chairman, as you know. Chairman, come on over. And we're just taking a look at what's happening. You know, it's a tough construction job. They're building basements where they didn't exist or expanding them, and a lot of very expensive work. There's no question about it. And Tim has been with me for a long time, and you're in charge of the committee.
Indeed, one of the reasons I wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses, wanted to figure out why.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1,
3.2. This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
It's not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use, but no, we don't expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So, any questions?
Mr. President, as a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire them.
Do you think this issue, Mr. President, using co-ops to do that?
Well, I'm here just really with the chairman. He's showing us around, showing us the work. And so I don't want to get that. I don't want to be personal. I just would like to see it get finished. And in many ways, it's too bad it started. But it did start. And it's been under construction for a long time. It's going to be a real long time, because it looks like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
So,
Mr. President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. Other than that, what can I tell you? The country is doing really well. I just briefed the chairman on the deal we made with Japan. Japan is putting up $550 billion in order to lower their tariffs a little bit. That way they have a little bit lower tariff. And they also opened their country to free trade, which nobody thought was even a possibility. And we get a zero tariff in the free trade. We don't pay tariffs, and they're going to pay 15% on everything they send into our country. So it's great. But they put up, as you could call it, seed money. Let's call it seed money. You could call it anything you want, but it's a total of $550 billion. So nobody thought any of that was possible, and it's wonderful. And we're doing pretty well with the European Union, likewise. And we have some others. They're all really big, and our country's going to make a lot of money. We would be helped if interest rates would come down, but we're going to see how the board rules on that soon. I'd love to see them come down a lot. But we have a country that's thriving. We had a dead country 1 year ago. Today we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And we're
Trump exposed Powell today. I mean, he's like, oh, that's the building we finished 5 years ago, but it's all part of the, $3.1 billion for renovation of the federal, what the hell is it called? What is it called? Jesus, John. Anyway, I can't think of I can't even think of what it's called now. That's weird. That's what happens to you when you get old. So Word to the wise, don't get old. All right, so now I always save the best for last. Okay, Martin Armstrong says nuclear war by 2026, which is right around the corner, and he does his information through computer-generated information. So let's listen to what he tells Alex Jones yesterday, or I think it was yesterday. It was yesterday, or might have been 2 days ago. Anyway, stand by.
Well, our computer, which isn't, it's been phenomenal in forecasting war. All right. And I stood up in 2011, said the war cycle turns up in 2014. That's all on videotape. It's documented. 2013, I stood up and I said, okay, fine. The computer's projecting this will start in Ukraine. All right. So these are not my personal opinions. And what's going on now is basically the computer showing what we call a panic cycle for next year, which I've never seen a panic cycle on the yearly level in war. So it's showing that escalation should start from next week going up. I think Trump has played into this wrongly with his demand for this 50-day nonsense. What do you really expect to do? You got war coming. Every European government is planning for war. You had Merz come out and say, there's, diplomacy's off the table. Forget that. I spoke to, in 3 different countries in Europe, I asked, can you please name one European leader that has attempted any diplomatic communications with Putin? No names. Nobody has. The only one that even bothered to call him was Trump. That was it. And Europe was all upset about that. They need war. Otherwise, their economy is going to collapse. The German economy has shrunk already by 3%, if not 5%. All right. They're losing and by shrinking, I mean the number of jobs possible are declining, not just a recession. So, and Germany's 25% of the GDP of Europe. It's done. It's finished. All right. So they need this war to keep going. The whole reason Hillary started the Russiagate was because back then they were trying to get into create a regime change in Russia. They blackmailed Yeltsin back then. Okay. They asked me to put in $10 billion into this Hermitage Capital. I refused. Who was behind that Hermitage Capital? Edmund Safra, but also Bill Browder. Who is Bill Browder? Maxwell's right-hand man. So this is all kind of really tied in. And who put me in contempt of court because I refused to basically cooperate with them? James Comey. So this, Comey was well aware of what was going on. And, it's now come out that, he basically covered up for Hillary. When somebody, is interviewed by the FBI, they always take notes because you can be prosecuted for lying to the FBI. And when it came to Hillary testifying before Comey, he didn't take notes. Why? Because he was part of it. So what they're doing with stablecoin is that it's the same exact MO as what they did for the Civil War. They issued national banknotes in 1863. The same scheme. They told the banks, if you buy our debt, you can then issue currency against it. Okay, so what happened was that's what you got. You can look on our site. We give you pictures of all the national banknotes that were issued in 1863. So that's how they sold the debt to fund the Civil War. So this is what's going on here.
So you're saying this is a new form of war. This is a new form of war bond.
Yeah, pretty much that's what it is. It's the exact same thing as 1863.
There you have it. Now, I don't know if you know what any of that means, but we're gonna talk about it for just a second. So, Martin Armstrong has been, he predicted that that Ukraine was going to start its war in 14, and it did. He was off, wasn't even off by days. Even he was dead on. These computer generated models are what how they figure this stuff out. And they're literally saying that we're going to be in nuclear war by 2026. The last time I checked, it was 2025, July 25th, 2025. And so, and he said later on in that report or in that interview to start getting prepared for a nuclear war. Now, I don't know if it's going to be, the little nukes or big nuke. Well, I don't know how that's going to go down, but we're being pushed into this nuclear war, obviously, with Russia. Can't seem to find a ceasefire, can't seem to find a peace agreement. And what he's saying, that whole article or that whole interview is up on my X account if you want to check it out under Inspector Web Pod. Check it out. It's about 50 something minutes long. It has a lot of great information, so you're up on what's going on. God, man, it's crazy. It's crazy town, man. Thank you for being here tonight. God bless everybody. We'll see you next Friday. There may be if some stuff comes out, I may do a special report on Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not sure yet. But God bless everybody. Everybody be safe out there and be good to your people, man. Have a good night.